There we go.
Are we good?
Alright. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Jay.
Okay.
I think your stick is
Testing,
on.
testing, 1, 2, 3. Welcome, it is 7:01. Welcome to the select board meeting today, March 31st, 7 o'clock. We got a great agenda tonight. We have some announcements. Number one announcement. Online permitting update. Apparently, online permitting went live well over a week ago, and maybe a few hiccups, but other than that, everything's going well. Payments have been received, people are happy, and not for nothing, but I talked about this almost 3 years ago. Was one of the things on my list was to get online permitting in Millis. 3 years later, which I think is good, right, Mike? You told me that's pretty good.
So that's not
Fast.
bad.
I thought it was gonna be 3 months, but 3 years, 3 months. It is in place, all the departments, and it's successful, and we are very proud of that as a board. Number two announcement, middle high school project update. So this is just a placeholder that Craig put in a while ago, just in case we had anything to talk about, and we always have something to talk about. I have one thing I want to talk about very quickly because I like to bring everybody up to date. So there was a great article in the Boston Globe on March 28th, and it was entitled, "Even well-to-do towns like Milton hit hard by school fiscal problems." If you get the Boston Globe, it's still there. Type Milton into the search bar and they'll come up. Very great article, doesn't really tell us much more than we already know, but Milton is going for a $9.5 million override. They had a $4 million deficit in the 23-24 school year, and now they're gonna go for its largest override in Milton history. And it talks a little bit about some other towns and what they're going through. Brookline's contending with an $8 million shortfall for next year, and the school committee is furiously making cuts. Duxbury may cut more than 18 school positions after voters rejected a $5.8 million override. And Newton is facing $3.7 million budget gap next year. The interesting thing about Milton is, which I thought it was a city, but then I looked it up, 28,000 people. Milton in the article says that they're a rural town with no commercial base, which I thought was hilarious, because if they don't have a commercial base, I don't know what you would call what Millis has. Anyway, that's that update. I have another update that came in from our consultant at Vertex. Apparently, a couple of weeks ago, the Millis middle high school team submitted its preferred schematic report at the end of February, marking another milestone in the MSBA process. It says that subsequent to the submission, the project team and district met with the facilities assessment subcommittee, which is a group made up of MSBA staff and some board members, and they provide an evaluation. The FAS, the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee, was supportive of the project's direction and noted the strong development of the educational plan. That's a theme we've been hearing.
Yeah,
Apparently, we can write an educational plan.
we do. And education plans are what the MSBA relies on to fund the school. They don't want to build a school to build a school. They want to build a school to support an educational plan or an educational philosophy. And we seem to write really good ones.
Yes.
They complemented our Clyde Brown and they complemented the high school,
Yes.
so.
Apparently, we can write one and Holliston can't.
Exactly.
We should help them, actually. Anyway, the FAS also acknowledged the town's desire to solve the educational vision with the most cost-effective approach. The MSBA will vote to move the project forward on April 30th. So that will be another milestone. Those are all of my school announcements.
I will just add that we've submitted, but now there is going to be up until October, September, August, September, there are gonna be price modifications. There's gonna be opinions on if tariffs hit it, if so, how much, if tariffs still exist, there's going to be cost containment, there's gonna be focusing. So the price will fluctuate between now and then, but by the time we get to the final submission, which will be the vote in November, we will have a very hard price with a very clear, concrete number. And we'll have that probably in September, and we'll know what we're moving forward with.
Do we know the range?
No,
Right now, they're saying that it's about, what, 127 million, with the range being between, I should look at the report from John. Yeah, with the range being between 35 and 43%. Most of our consultants are saying expect something in the low 40s because of all the benchmarks we hit, but they can't guarantee that till the state says it. So we've got this range between 35 to 43% that the state will subsidize. And that'll be sharpened as they get further into.
right. I wanted to mention one other thing. It's on my social media. So we, Karen, Mike and I, and Robin Briggs, Chair of School Committee, schlepped into Worcester
Bob
Monday,
Mulaney.
and Bob Mulaney, Superintendent of Schools, of course, to attend the hearing, the
No, we
legislative.
went to Amherst.
Amherst.
Amherst, even worse.
I'm like, we schlepped even further.
2 hours, which was a lovely drive in the rain.
Mhm.
And we attended the hearing, and it was informative, and it was packed, which was the point. Some of the schools let their kids out. We saw a steady stream of students coming from Amherst High School. They walked a mile and they filtered in, and they had to hold a quarter of them at a time in the holding area outside, because if you didn't have a seat, they wouldn't let you in. So every 15 or 20 minutes, 100 students got up and filed out, and 100 came in and filled their seats. So it was good. I understand we left a little bit earlier, but it went, what, 7 or 8 hours?
Went from 11 AM to about 5 PM.
Yeah.
6 hours.
Without a break, right?
I don't think so. They took
There
a
was
break.
no break, which was,
That's right.
which was interesting. Anyway, so that was one, we did what we could. We also wrote a letter to, do you have that response, Karen? That was a cool response.
I do not have it on me. Thought I.
Mike, you got it, right?
Yes, I can find it.
Oh, here it is. So we wrote a letter to the governor. We all signed it. And,
Oh, yeah, Governor's email,
we
sorry.
got a response.
Yeah.
We wrote a letter and got a response from a woman named Alicia Rebello Pradas, who's Governor Healy's Deputy Chief of Staff. The team in our Constituent Services Department kindly shared your board's thoughtful letter with me and with the governor. Please let the board know we received the letter and also plan to share with our fiscal team, who is closely monitoring fair share revenues. Well, you can't do better than that.
No, and we were asking for a few things, but the really most important one, I think, long-term is redoing the formula, because the formula is just not fair to the town.
Not working.
And then short-term, looking for circuit breaker money for special ed and any other available funds they have.
Right.
And hopefully seeding a little bit more into the MSBA, since we have a project pending.
Coming up.
That was an important one for us.
Anyway, there's another hearing on April 8th, in Boston this time. But it is also on Zoom. And I'm going to attend one way or another, and we're gonna see what the rest of the school or whatever, anybody's gonna do. But anybody can attend on Zoom, anybody can go in and see it. And we're just gonna keep, we're gonna keep the pressure on as much as we can. So that's that. Next announcement, Friends of the Library book sale. Is that why you guys are here?
We have another agenda item, but we're happy to.
Oh, okay. What do we got, Karen?
Friends of the Library book sale is happening this weekend, April 4th to April 6th. It starts on Friday from 6 PM to 8 PM. That's friends only for a preview sale. Then it's Saturday 9 to 1, where everyone is welcome, and Sunday 1 to 3. There's a $5 bag sale, with bags provided, everyone is welcome, and it looks like they have everything from books to games to music, correct?
Yeah, movies.
Movies.
It's a great, I tell you, I go
It's pretty exciting.
every time that they have one. They don't charge enough money, by the way. I tell you that every time. You walk away with a bag of books for 52 cents, but it's fun, so you should
But
try.
you can
to
pay
get
with
there.
your credit card for the 52 cents.
Can you?
Like, yeah.
It probably costs
It
$6
cost
if you
27
pay with
cents,
an
yeah.
American Express card, but the rest of us.
It is.
So that's that. And then we have Millis Beautification Day, which is coming up on the 12th, which I also try to go
Yep,
to. but
from
I-
9 to noon. Both of these are, the book sale, I can't remember if it's on the homepage of the website, but it's on there, somewhere. And Millis Beautification Day is on the homepage if you want to sign up. As
So it's
always, take part in
Saturday.
Millis. We need volunteers.
Yep.
That's Saturday the 12th.
Saturday, the 12th, 9 AM to noon. It starts at, here at Town Hall, and you pick up your penny, or what do you call, penny?
Sure. Vest.
Vest,
Safety
your
vest.
safety vest, and a bag, and gloves, and you get a route, and off you go. And good luck with all the nips, and what else? Nips, mostly nips.
Mostly
Empty nips.
Dunkin'
Empty
Donuts.
nips, yeah, you don't get full nips,
Definitely not hot.
if that's what you're planning on. Empty nips, most of them are the what, Fireball.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
real
That's a big
popular
one,
one.
right? Fireball.
Throwing them out.
Yeah, if only that were the case.
But also encouraging people, even if they can't make it on that day, to look around their neighborhood and
Yeah.
maybe go out and clean on their own.
There you go, what a novel idea. So those,
Let's don't end on the cleaning,
Get
because
up there.
it's very important for us. This is run by the
Lions.
Guidance Club and the Lions Club, they join together.
In the garden.
And we most importantly ask that if you fill a bag up, this is the one time a year we would ask that you fill a bag up and call us and leave it where it is, and we'll come pick it up. That worked out a lot last year.
Yeah,
So I know I met with Jen this afternoon, and we're gonna do the same areas, the big pots, we're gonna clean around the school, sections there, the transfer station road. They're gonna do a big work on Tolles Corner also. That's
now
what
when
they
you
did.
say call us, call the
Call the
DPW
DPW,
number.
508-376.
on Saturday.
5424. No, they can call even after it. You know, say if anybody wants to go out and pick a bag of trash up, call the 5424 number and we'll come pick the bag of trash up.
What did we used to do? Just leave it there, right?
And we would send trucks around, but this is, like Karen said, that if they
You
can't
missed
make it that day,
Yeah,
please don't, just go out and pick it up on Sunday.
yeah.
Pick it up on Tuesday, I don't care.
right.
We'll come pick it up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks, Jim. Okay, so, we have a hearing. Does that sound right?
No.
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 What do we have?
We have no hearings held tonight.
Oh, we have a-
Capital Planning Committee is here this evening.
Well, it said scheduled appointments / hearings. I read the
Oh, yes,
headline.
that's true.
Capital Planning Committee recommendations from Mr. Barry. Come on up.
An official appointment, however. Right?
It's a
Not a
scheduled
hearing, an
appointment.
official appointment.
There you go.
Let's not confuse her anymore, okay?
Don't confuse me
All
anymore.
right, well, thanks everybody for having me here. John Barry, 6 Paddock Lane, Chair of the Capital Community Committee. This is my semi-annual visit to the Select Board. So here to share what is right now a draft report, which we will hopefully finalize at a meeting tomorrow night. But it will go through if there might be any changes here. So we had, this is a process we've been following for about 8 years now. 8 quick years, they just fly by here. And we've put together, I think, a pretty consistent process over the years where we take a look at all the items that come across from the different departments for requests, counter requests. We've got a framework to rank them, or to score them, I should say. And then we sort them into highest, medium, and lower priorities. I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. All the priorities are important. You know, very rarely does somebody come to us with something that we think is frivolous and just. But what we're trying to do is provide the Select Board and the Finance Committee with information to help as you're figuring out what goes on the warrant. So this year we had, or this cycle rather, we had 7 items come in front of us. At present, we've got 5 ranked as highest, 1 medium, 1 lower. So the 5 highest ones, this is a little page in the back here, you can see. A new truck for the animal control officer, which we share with Medway, and this price, the cost rather would be shared with Medway. Details TBD exactly how it would work, but roughly speaking, Medway would pay for half of that. The existing truck is just, A, old and B, not fit for purpose, and frankly, probably not safe, for the control officer, in its present condition. Two items for the fire department, radio receivers and a new UTV, a utility vehicle and a trailer to carry that on, and also some repairs to brush two truck. Radio receivers, this is just a necessary piece of equipment so they can communicate across the town. The UTV is an interesting one in that it's a new piece of equipment, but it will eventually replace the brush truck. The chief believes it's much more flexible, and can get to more areas and do more things than the brush truck. He's gonna try to repair the brush truck so we can get a little bit more usage out of it. But that truck is pretty close to the end of its life at this point. The nice thing with this one is on an ongoing basis, it is actually a cheaper option than the brush truck. Than buying a new truck from brush truck would be. For library, library have the last few years laid out a schedule of capital repairs that they've been pretty diligently following. So this year, they've got a couple items, well, really one item that needs to be attended to, which is some HVAC repairs. There's some issues right now. So, we certainly applaud the library for having this schedule and really sticking to it, because I think, as we all know, that was the source of problems over the years for the town, where we didn't do as good a job of maintaining buildings, and the library's done a really nice job of that. And then finally, for the school, in the highest category is the a special education van. School, I'd say, is kind of gotten a bit more organized over the past year or so with regards to vehicles. And roughly speaking, they've got a fleet of, I believe it's 19 vehicles. A couple of them are backup vehicles. So they're at a place now where they're going to rotate through, just like the police chief rotates through his cars. They've got a plan to try to rotate through the sped vans. Roughly speaking, we'd see one of these per year for infinity, I suppose. 19 vans, that 19-year life for one van would be a long time. That's probably not exactly how it's going to lay out. There might be some years where you don't have any. There might be some years where you have two. But this year we've got one. On the medium priority, we've got a dump truck for DPW. This is to replace an existing truck. That truck is very close to the end of its life. I will say this one was close to, it was sort of borderline whether we put it in the highest or the medium. It did fall to the medium at this time. It's something we did get a note from the other day, which we will discuss with the committee to see if we want to change our opinion on where it fits within the highest or medium. But again, we'll assess that at our meeting tomorrow night. So for now, it's medium priority. Again, we don't doubt it's very important. It just came in at a little bit lower score than some of the other items that you see above. And then finally, on the lower priority list was a request from the building department for a Chevy Blazer that the building inspector could use so to do their duties. Candidly, it didn't check a lot of boxes in our prioritization system, so that fell to the lower end of the list for now. With regards to the let me pause there and take any questions on any of that.
I'm on the
I'm
committee, so
good.
I got nothing.
Good. All right, I like it. You guys are easy.
We have a question from the audience.
See how much truck we have in you and your committee?
Maybe I can address it now. So.
If you address it now, I'm gonna barely listen on
Yeah, 'cause
Tuesday night.
I guess I'm kind of confused on the rating system of this. When Mr. Barry presented to the finance committee, I was kind of concerned when I heard that the Millis dump truck was put in the medium category. And then I went back to, what I had submitted, and maybe we're not supposed to do these.
No, that's good.
So, what we do is we submit what they rate. And, mine was so far off of how they rated it. And during my presentation to the committee, this truck, I always thought the DPW were on the same type of replacement as the police. They get 2 a year. This truck is 10 years old. I did, when I presented to you, I presented to the finance committee, and I also presented to the committee that, you know, the truck, once you weld something on a truck, you can't use it any longer. You have to get rid of it. It won't be, they won't get a sticker for it. It won't be licensed. And I know I said that, and I was thinking maybe I didn't, so I went back and I listened to the meeting. I read the meeting minutes. And I mean, the only thing I did not do is, I didn't know I had to, I did not show the pictures, and I have them of the rust and where it was welded.
So you're saying that, what's the weld that, you're saying
You welded the frame. You can't.
you welded the frame?
Welded the frame. to
Past the
hold
rust.
That, no, to hold the truck together.
Okay.
And, you know, the side bodies, the, you know, panels are rusting off of this truck. I mean, these trucks, you know, if a landscaping company uses them, they're 10, 20 years old, they can be used. We use these trucks, you know, probably, we should be using them the way we use them. Each one of these has a plow route. I mean, this truck here has a plow route of Dover Road and all the side streets that go with it. Those roads are 20, 36 feet wide. They have a sander on the back of them, where a landscaper may plow 1 or 2 driveways, you know, a snowstorm, and that's how they get to keep them for 20, 30 years. It was always in the idea in the train that when the committee was first started 8 years ago, the DPW vehicles would look at, you know, this size vehicle with pickups would be replaced every 10 years, and I believe that was I thought that was it. You know, we did have 2, you know, less winters that, you know, the snowstorms weren't all that bad, so we got to keep it an extra 2 years. It was bought in 2012, and we're in 2025. And with rating it at that level right now, we have another one that's coming up in November. And we're gonna be asking for that to be replaced because it's in the same exact condition. And then the next year, we have pickup trucks that are over the 10-year limit that need to be replaced. You know, I did present this to the enterprise committee. They voted in favor of it. I presented just how I presented it to the 3 other committees, and they knew it was a valid point for me to move forward. What's the highest, what's the medium? How is that gonna be perspective? You know, I know how people could take that at a voting time, you know. I know how the finance committee can take that, and there's people on that board, well, they rated it as a medium.
I get it.
So, and, you know, no. And then if we get to a position where people start looking, well, if they said no in a town meeting, you never know what's gonna happen. You're just never gonna know what happened. I just don't know how, because we never questioned on how the difference is. I mean, the board, you know, I don't wanna go through each one.
It's okay, why don't we ask him?
Yeah.
Why was this?
I was just looking at the raw scores on it. Yeah, and the raw scores ran the gamut on this one much more
But
than the others.
Jim, I got one quick
Yeah.
question. Is this different because it's a plowed truck? Do you look at the mileage? What's the mileage on it? Or is that the, okay, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
Got it.
And just looking at this raw scores, this one had a pretty wide range on raw scores. And I think that there were a few particularly low ones that may have brought it down. But I'll say a second thing, I'll let you address. I mean, perception wise, I understand what you're saying. I think that it's highly likely we're going to include all the way down to the medium level on the warrant on one item. So I understand what you're saying for perception, and we'll be listening to you Tuesday night to see if the 2 low scores.
why
can
do you-
bump up.
So,
Yeah, so we went through the process, again, we've got a set of criteria that we look at. We ranked it all the committee members ranked it. We had a discussion about it, and we ended up averaging out the rankings. To Craig's point, there was some variation there. And we took the average, and again, it came up with a, you know, a score that showed that this is an important vehicle. So I want to be clear, we are not saying this is something that is frivolous or not necessary.
okay,
However, it came in with a ranking that was lower than the other items. There's some subjectivity in the scoring? Sure, of course there is. But, you know, I think since we've been operating, we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
You know, to Mr. Casewine, he brings up a lot of good points. He's done a great job, you know, maintaining the fleet and sort of scheduling out the replacement of the fleet. And, you know, we've worked really well with him over the years, so I'm sure we can work well on this one. He sent a note with raising many of the same concerns he has here, and as I noted earlier, You know, we will take it under advisement tomorrow night when we meet again.
Okay.
And decide if we want to change our rankings. I mean,
Okay.
we're not so proud that we're willing to revisit the way we went about something.
No, I know. The
Makes
only
sense,
thing
we'll do
that,
it.
the biggest thing that concerns me is if we don't do this year, you're gonna have two next year.
We won't have this truck.
Yeah.
There's a plow route that's gone. It was
Right.
Presented
Yeah,
to every board.
yeah, and
It's coming off the road.
I think the likelihood of, we've always presented
Yeah.
as a list, the highs, mediums and lows were all on the list. It's gonna be the same package this year. I don't think we're gonna subdivide it off in the warrant. It's not subdivided off. So there will be a chance. I understand you're concerned about finance committee may not recommending it, so.
But I just have one other
Yeah.
point, and most importantly, it's not for this truck.
Yeah.
Because it's in the medium.
Right.
What's gonna happen, I mean, this should be part of, the schedule is set every 10 years. That in this truck, most of the trucks we have are 10, 12 years old. We get into the larger dump trucks, they're 25, 30 years old. We have trucks in the DPW that are 40 years old. That we still have and we operate. If we don't have a structure of how these vehicles are gonna be replaced. I remember the first year I started working here, 3 trucks were taken off the road for this exact same
Yeah.
reason. They were condemned, truck 30, truck 2, and truck 18. And they're the ones that are used constantly every single day of the year. And these are the ones that are gonna be coming up in the next 3
Right.
years. So,
But to your point, if that's the truth and it's just a 10-year rotation or whatever the rotation is, why do we have a grading system at all?
I don't know that, and I can tell you, if I can just go back one more point, and I'll sit down and let you go on to me. When I first came here, I did a presentation, I don't know if you remember, Mr. Winterhalter, Paul Winterhalter, he used to be in charge of the buses. And he was very smart, meaning this was his business, he did this, he ran the buses, and we came up with a leasing program for the DPW. And it was for these pickup trucks, the small dump trucks, and leave it at that. And back at the time, the previous town administrator, and Craig, you're on the finance committee at the time, and it was just like, no, we don't lease vehicles. It just doesn't happen. And the reasons that were given to me was that, because then once you build that in the budget, it's there forever when you start doing something like that. So we went back to looking at trying to replace vehicles once every, and it's
Well,
like the vans, it's like, it's, they're not sitting there waiting for somebody. This truck is used every single day.
right, and this leads to the whole conversation about what should be part of the rating system and what shouldn't, because we pulled the
Right.
police cars out because we put those on a lease. And things have changed a lot since then. I mean, back then, we'd be excited if we got $100,000 of new growth and $400,000 of free cash. I mean, those were big years for us. We're coming off $3.5 million of free cash and new growth. What was it last year? 950, or was it?
1.1.
1.1, so I lowballed it. So we're in a different situation than we were back then, and maybe some of these things, not for this budget cycle, because I want to finish this budget cycle, but maybe next year's budget cycle, we have to consider other alternatives instead of, especially for stuff that's mandatory to be done. And these like police cars, so I don't want to take away from this committee either, because there's plenty this committee does, but maybe this
Yeah.
isn't one of them. We pulled roads off a while back too, because same reason, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a process that evolves, I'd say, we probably looked at, I don't know, 100 capital items
Yeah.
in the 8 years, and, I think we've probably got them right.
Yeah.
95 times, and maybe 5 times we haven't done them right, and maybe this is a time, so we'll certainly reassess it and
Yeah.
let you know if we change our opinion on it.
Okay, thanks, John.
All right,
We got-
one other, just last thing I'll note here, you already referenced the school, Ellen, so, we want to reference that as well. So, because that has moved into sort of a real phase where, it will come in front of the town in the fall. Our committee has finally felt we were at a place where it was appropriate for us to begin our process of, getting up to speed, doing our due diligence. And then in the fall, we will formally opine on it, through this report. So we met with the school building committee, a few weeks back, had a really good discussion with them. So we're up to speed on everything. We did, note it in our report, 'cause it is certainly the largest capital item by far. We've got $123 million of total capital right now, of which 82 of it is related to the school, so about 2/3. And we did change our total, number that we're holding for the school in our, kind of big master list. We actually, believe it or not, revised it downward a little bit. So right now, based on the latest numbers, which you referenced earlier, $127 million project, of which we might get somewhere between 35 and 44%. We put in our summary, the lower end of reimbursement, which is to say the higher cost to the town of 82.7 million is what's sitting in our current assessment of, or I shouldn't say assessment, but our summary of the capital. That's a little bit lower than what we had before. We had about 90 million before, so it has come down a little bit from the prior options. So just find out that is in there. We tried to highlight it as best we could so that town is aware if they haven't already heard.
Yeah. And one comment was made to the finance committee after your presentation that we have $123 million of capital items listed. Don't forget that 83 of that is the school. It's really 40 million, which is a whole lot different than 123 million when you know that one item is, as you said, 2/3 of it. So it's not, we have the school coming in $123 million of capital. We got the school coming in $40 million of capital over the next 10 years.
All right, any questions?
Anything? Nope.
No.
Aaron?
Thank
Nope.
you.
All right.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to tomorrow night.
Good job. Okay. My favorite part of the meeting is, don't make this not my favorite part, Jim. The municipal moment tonight is the stormwater enterprise, which is the stormwater bill that we get explained.
Depending on what happens with that giant binder, this may be the last time we do one of these. That was my fear.
So what is, what we all call this, the rain tax? That's the word.
Is that what they
Rain
call
tax,
it?
That's what the public.
Why are we taxing the rain? Why are we charging a fee for rainwater?
So,
This is so good. Look at
Yes.
this.
oh. We're not- In 2015, the EPA and the Mass DEP, they came up with that cities and towns in the Upper Charles. And that includes us. I believe that the Upper Charles starts somewhere in Bellingham, if not Milford, and it goes all the way down to the
4 inches
to
to the
the, to
mic.
the, city of Boston. And years prior to that, the city of Boston, they did all their cleanup. I don't know if you all, I mean, I lived in the city for most of my life and worked at the Boston Water and Sewer. And remember swimming in some of these beaches that you would have never swam in, Tinian Beach, Malibu Beach, and today
Revere.
you can go in every single one of them. And it's crystal clear. So when they finished that, there was still pollutants still coming down, and it was from the Upper Charles, from Cambridge all the way up, and Cambridge did theirs, and so the EPA and the DEP said that we need to all start cleaning what we call a phosphorus load. What's a phosphorus load? It means a lot. It's many, many different things. The phosphorus load is, it comes from anything from cow manure that gets into the aquifer. It comes from emissions of our cars that stick to leaves. And then when those leaves fall off or it rains, that falls off and it gets into the catch basins that goes into all the different streams. It comes from fertilization, different types of fertilization. Many towns that are under this, they ban any type of fertilizing of grasses or anything like that. So during that time, Millis always participated in whatever they had to do to keep themselves legal and programs moving forward. And, the previous town administrator, he would go every year to keep this is what the report. These are 2 reports that are filed every single year to the Mass DEP and the EPA, and they're online. If anything I talk about tonight, you can find it all online, except one thing I need your vote to before we can move forward with it. So, and we did that, and just to do the report, you were talking back in those days of $150,000, $120,000, $30,000 to even do it then. The biggest thing that Millis ever did, before that, we implemented, the stormwater, I don't get into what we actually call it. We actually put infiltration basins in, Forest Road and Birch Street. They're underground, they're right at the corner. Another large project that, that's still being paid for is, Acorn Street. We ran a new drainage system and it was all built to that standards. Every building that was built, the good news is every building that's been built, from the police station to the back parking lot, the library, the school, the DPW, the fire station, that's not, it doesn't need it, but everything has been built to what would pass even today with everything. So that was good, foresight back in those days. Another good thing is even back in the early 20s, even before that, the early 2012s in that area around that, every developer was required to put in state-of-the-art infiltration basins. Don't have to tell you anything that you don't know. And I'm talking, these things probably cost more than half of what the development cost to build these type of systems. Back then, it was always left up to, the town administrator and the select board at that time always made it a private. They wanted, so even though that the roads may be owned by the town and accepted by the town, these basins that are on, they're owned by the homeowners association and they have to maintain them. And that's continued to this day. That's a lot of, people always question that, well, why am I paying and I still have to maintain these detention basins? Well, that's the way it's been, and to change it now, it would be astronomical for even the cost that we're paying for the stormwater bill. So that's a little bit of history of, where we came from. Back in 2015, the town administrator left, and I was left with this and PFAS and lead and copper. And I knew a little about, I knew a lot about all this before I even came to Millis. And the idea of how we were gonna move forward, because I knew the costs were gonna increase drastically every single year and to where it is today. Because now that once we got the permit, it was how we were gonna pay for it. We knew the permit was coming. So in 2015, we started to have subcommittees. And I think Craig, you attended a bunch of them. We had it in this room here.
Yeah.
And the select board, and we had to go back to the little putting the dots on what's the best way to move forward with the stormwater.
When you say once the permit, what are you
The
talking
permit
about?
from the EPA. So we actually have a permit number that's given to us, for our removal of phosphorus. Remember phosphorus.
From the town?
Dirtiest word I've ever used in my life, other than PFAS. Yes, removal for the town, and it's the town, it's the mileage and everything else of the town. We have if you look at this report, it says, we have like 440.9 pounds of phosphorus. And our job is to get that number down. With everything that I spoke forward about the developers in the town building these infrastructures, we've lowered that number already by 110 pounds, which is big. That's big, really big for a little community like us.
Over how many years?
That was from the early days of, enforcing the new, stormwater regulations.
2015-ish.
I'd even say a little before that. I'd say
Okay.
back in the
Maybe.
2010s.
Okay.
And probably when you started developing, I don't want to put you on the spot.
It's all right,
When you
the
started
early,
building.
2008.
Started building.
Yeah.
And it was actually probably when even the days when he built
The plaza.
the plaza, because they had, even you made it bigger, but that was always there, another pump up front, but the one on the side.
Yeah.
So Millis was always ahead of the ball in that, moving forward. So now we get to how are we gonna pay for this? Because now we have our permit, we know it's coming. So I can read some of the dates that make sense.
Jim, how do they measure the phosphorus load?
I know. How
They-
do they know it's 400
They,
pounds?
it's all
0.9.
it's all part of the cleaning of what we send back in our reports. So when we do the street cleaning, when we do the, cleaning of all the catch basins, The piles of leaves that we see at the transfer station, we have to report all that. And they take that as, you know, pounds off of however it's calculated by our engineers. So like if we, that's why we clean every catch basin once a year. I report that we street sweep every, you know, street in Millis, you know, does that happen? Yeah, that's all we need to know. And, you know, these cleanups, this cleanup that we're talking about, how many bags of trash that we picked up, that's reported. So that's why it's a big deal. You know, there's so many different cleanups that we use that, you know, we have to report that into it. So back in the fall of 2017, we had an official stormwater utility bylaw. That's what it's called. It's the stormwater utility bylaw. And that was voted in the fall of 2017. And to get to that point, we did a lot of work and we purposely put it in the general bylaws. You can find it in the general bylaws. It's article number 24, and it starts on page 61. And it goes on through the rest of the book. And it was written by some of the best people in this business. You talked about Milton. Milton, they were one of the first ones who had a stormwater utility and an enterprise fund. We copied their, so we didn't have to rewrite everything. We copied how they did it and we implemented it here. Betsy Frederick was on the ground level of all this, and she was always very smart in how to do it. And I remember her emphasizing to myself and believe that the interim town administrator before I came here was Suzanne Kennedy, another very smart person who knew her stuff. Let's just put it that way. And she knew that it was to put everything, every I was dotted and every T was crossed and put it in the general bylaws, because there's nothing in here that can be done with this bylaw without a town meeting vote. And that comes from when we get into the credit manual, the rates, it's definitely set in there that, you know, you as the commissioners, you set the rates for every year going forward. So in 2017, we started that. The next meeting, what was next? In the spring of 18, Town Hall Stormwater Utility Policy Development Meeting and rate hearing. So we were running out of time. So we actually did the bylaw first, and then we actually went to town meeting to get this approved at town meeting. And that was in 2018. And then the policy presentation to the public, that was when we actually had everything in place, and then we set the rates after everything was in place. It was a little backwards. I remember the arguments about that. You know, there was a lot of arguments from the public. You know, we should have never, it should have been the other way around, but that's how it happened. How can I go forward? There's so much literature out there on the stormwater. You know, the very first one we did before we even went, right when it was instituted, we published the Stormwater Utility Credit Manual. That's also online. Anybody wants to look at it, it's still active, it's still accurate, and that's what.
When you say online, is on our,
It's on the Millis DPW
Got it.
website. If you go down, you scroll the left-hand column, there's a section there, it says stormwater.
perfect,
All this stuff is there. You know, we did an early handout of trying to explain, and most of the people back then, you know, because back then we mailed everything because it was a new program. So we mailed everything to every house. The select board back then, we created the rates for it. So everything is in the rates in there, done by square feet. And the first one is 0 to 199, and at that measurement, it's nothing. You don't pay anything. And there are some homes that actually that fall under that. Not as many as we thought. And then the next tier is 200 square feet of impervious area to 1,499. That's $33. The most, when I said most, no, not the most popular, is 1,500 to 249 is $66, and 2,500 to 349, 3,499 is $99. When this was first implemented, and for the longest time, the largest group of people that paid were in that $66 tier. But as newer homes were being built, and when the Glen started coming online, that number switched to the most base rate is on that, number 3, 2,500 to 3,499, and that's $99. So the person that's paying $250, you know, some are paying, there's a lot of people paying thousands of dollars. And how does that come to be? That's on the impervious area, and I would ask everybody, what is it? We actually have the definition of what, and it's the legal construction guidelines of what's impervious area. So let me try to just give you a dumbed down version of what impervious area is. It's if you have a gravel driveway, if you have a dirt driveway, or you have any access road that a vehicle travels over it and it's compacted down, we say that that's impervious. And that was a fine decision that the committee that was formed made it that way. So how do you get rid of that? I mean, there are people that live up at Causeway Street that has, their driveways are hundreds of feet long. And as it's by width and length, and then we also measure the roof span of your house. And if you have a deck out in the back, that's also measured part of it. If you have a pool, if you have your walkway coming off that's also included in it. A pool, like I said, a pool, the patio that goes around the pool, a shed. And so how do we do that? How do we get to that measurements? When we first did it, they came out and measured almost every house, not every, we went and visited with the computer system and we went to every single home. Now we've updated it twice since then, because people add decks, people take their pool off, they boom, boom, you know, so we have to keep up with that. So we bought into this new, they call it Near Map. And it's an aerial view of the town of Millis, and they do a flyover 4 different times a year. It's expensive, but it's good for us to have our partners at Kleinfelder. They review it when they add on new homes, and they use that, and they get a much better accurate measurement, because if you use just regular Google Earth, I mean, they could, in Millis, they could have done a flyover and just did it in the fall, and there's trees, so we can't see anything. So this actually lets us go back, 4 different times a year. So that's how we get to that. People also.
But this is, I have a question, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure I'm wrong. This is the manner of which to collect the money to perform the work. It really, we're basing it on people's impervious on their property. People think that that's the reason we're doing it is because that's the impact is from their impervious. But that's not the truth. That's just the way we're collecting them.
Well, it's still runoff from those impervious areas are, also contributing to the runoff.
The phosphorus.
Into getting into the aquifer and running off. 'Cause
Okay.
Everything in Millis runs to the Chaldea.
Okay.
Two different.
All right, so it is, in fact, the impervious. That's why we're doing it that way, because we feel that that's the ratio, that's what they should. But then we have to talk about the town roads and
Yes,
the town.
so, yeah, I'm gonna get to that right now.
Good.
So, all of that, the town roads, any town road sidewalks are not part of any calculations and it's not billed out whatsoever. So all of us, as we pay into the stormwater bill, that's what it's there to maintain the catch basins if they break down, and infrastructure under the roads, the pipes. Just like a water and sewer, if a water and sewer pipe breaks, everybody shares the cost of making that repair if there's a water main break. All the catch basins, everyone, most importantly, another big question that we get, everyone always asks, who is billed from this? Well, I can tell you that, the board back then, everybody pays for it. I don't care who you are. There's not one parcel of land in the town of Millis that there is not a stormwater bill for. And that includes the town hall, that includes any water and sewer stations, the police station, school.
So the town,
The town charges it itself.
On town buildings and.
oh, really? I thought we all picked that up.
Now, we In the grand scheme of things.
We do,
do.
I
Yeah,
do, I
right, but-
understand, trickle down to tax.
Yeah.
But no, I seriously thought there was like a little, that you raised the fee a little bit on each. But no, the town pays,
Comes out of the town's funds.
Right.
To pay for the impervious surfaces for,
okay,
the town's main buildings and parking lots, but not the roads and not
so
the
how,
sidewalks.
who picks up the roads? We do.
We do, that's in the general upkeep of it.
Got it.
So there's a bill that comes out of the general fund that pays for all municipal aspects. There's a bill that comes to the water department, there's one that comes to the sewer department that pays for all their impervious areas along that line.
So all this money that you collect
Yep.
from us and from the town,
Yep.
does it cover?
Yes. Yes, so.
Really?
Yes, so since it was instituted, I believe it was in 2019, we haven't raised the rates once.
I know.
And I can tell you, from the finance director, we have in reserves upwards almost $900,000+ for, and one project, as you know, will
Yeah.
wipe that $900,000. It wouldn't, one project that we're gonna have to start instituting.
Right.
Along with,
Phosphorus removal project,
yeah.
not just the passive, where we're cleaning out
no,
but an active plant that removes phosphorus
Right.
before it hits the Charles. That money's gone.
Correct.
Yeah,
so a big thing, when Route 109 was done over, it was before this was instituted. Every basin I would say almost 75% of the basins on Route 109 do not have sump basins. Sump basin is a basin where the water comes in and it drops down and it collects on the bottom, leaves and everything fall to the bottom and water runs off the top. Most of them are direct pipes that go right out into the pipe that leads to the Charles River. Eventually someday, we're gonna have to fix that. The largest aspect still in the stormwater is our engineering costs, because we're still catching on this report. I mean, this is not a full-time position, but this is a good chunk of somebody's daily activities. Since we've instituted it, we've been trained, the staff and the DPW have been trained on going out as we did today. We're going out, we do wet weather outfall inspections, and we do dry weather outfall inspections. And there's a number of them that we have to inspect, and once you start, you finish, start all over again. And the largest thing since the second, so we're on the second year of the program. So the first 6 years, it was get yourself in order.
6 months,
6 years.
6 years.
It was get everything in line. And we've got our we've got everything going. So the next year, now you have to start going out and get boots on the ground and get out there and start fixing things and inspecting things. The biggest things that I can see for both, for the town and for private owners, I'll explain quickly. We are testing. And let's say if we find they find an outfall that has a bacteria level that raises to a high level. So it's their job, once they get that, they've got to go back and find the source of that. So if you have to first start looking at how many catch basins are tied into that. And then if you rule that out, if you test all the catch basins and you rule that out, how many septic systems are tied, in that area? And then you're gonna start getting into, forcing people to test their septic systems. Another large, and this is a question I've had from different homeowners associations. Okay, we built these things, who's inspecting them? And why aren't they being inspected? And it's up to it, if you look at every homeowners association, it's in there that it's up to them to maintain them, inspect them. Well, now the DEP and the EPA are coming out with a form that we're gonna have to start handing to the homeowners association. And they're gonna have to start inspecting these, and then we're gonna have to go back and check to make sure that they're actually being enforced, if they're being cleaned, if they're being tested. Most of the developments in Millis, when you talk about the big ones, when you talk about Glen Ellen, your development, Ellen, they're cleaned. I mean, I know they're cleaned because I drive by them and I make sure that they are. That's not the issue. It's when you get into the little ones down, I know like the Charles River Estates, they clean theirs also. But there's a couple on there's a Greenwood Drive, those poor people there. they probably don't even know they have them. And they're gonna find out, the 4 homes up there, they're gonna
Yeah.
find out that they have them. The new development off of, Plain Street here, what's the nice homes are that go up off the, anyways.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of the.
I know the name of it, and, you know, they have,
We looked at them.
they have underground Caltech systems.
Yeah.
And those are gonna have to start to be inspected, so it's not like this isn't gonna affect. And it's gonna be a big thing for them, for the ones that don't know it and haven't inspected it. But the other good news, I mean, did you already approve this? Or am I coming later tonight for the, what are we coming for later?
You're kind
The
of.
rate
All
study?
for the beta group?
No, so last meeting, you approved the rate study.
Yeah.
And our capital items, this is the first time we're gonna include this in a rate study in Millis, which is gonna be helpful to us, and we'll look at the, you know, just me saying like, okay, you know, we're collecting enough money and let's don't go up in the rates because we wanna keep everybody happy, that's not the right way to run business. So hopefully we'll get a better eye view of, you know, what capital items are gonna need to be made. And we're gonna hopefully, you know, we will be ready for you before, you know, usually it's like the last week in August and everybody's away on vacation, we're asking you to come in, you know, for a special meeting to set the rates. We're gonna have these done on time, and it's gonna be done in July, and Mr. Duffy back there will make sure that, you know, he keeps us on target on that. Because we do talk about this stuff at the enterprise committee. We talk about stormwater, we talk about water, we talk about sewer constantly. So, you know, is it a good program? I mean, everything that we do, it's helping the environment. I can't say that it's an expensive type of thing that's put, you know, but the quality of life in Millis, I can tell you that, you know, in instances like this, and for, you know, most importantly, the trust that people have put in our PFAS system, you know, we're a hell of a lot far ahead than many other communities
I know that,
Yeah.
in this area, and we're paying for it.
I know.
I get it, but,
But that's one of the stories out there that you hear all the time is we're the only ones doing it. No other towns are doing it in the state.
No, I-
That's impossible, right?
no, cause I can tell you, like I said, Milton, we used theirs, when we did it, I think we were the 13th one in 2017. Franklin just instituted theirs.
Yeah.
Medway just, so everybody's doing it, because it has to be a way of paying. Either that or it comes out of the general fund.
Right.
It'll be a budget item that you're creating another department, and if the general fund can accept it and handle it, then that's the way to go, but I don't see Millis, unfortunately, being able to do that.
Yeah, I remember between when we started the fees, when we required to start doing it, and we had $400-something thousand we had to come up with one year out of
Yep.
free cash, when
That's
free
correct.
cash was, you know, maybe $800,000, so more than half of our free cash went to this, and that was a crisis, you know, so we needed a way to fund it.
And it would be the same way every year going
Yep,
forward. from
exactly.
That.
And 400,000 is more than free cash was in some of those years.
But when you say that, Medway just started and Franklin just started, how could, didn't they have to, they just got their permit?
No, they've had their permit, they were paying it out of their general fund.
Right.
Okay, they were doing it.
They were doing it, and they were keeping up with it, but I mean, let's remember that, like anything you talked about earlier, both towns that you just mentioned have a great, you know, industrial,
I get
they have
that.
businesses.
Right.
So they have different rates. and
Okay, they
charge
were
people
doing it, they
different.
just weren't charging people yet
Yeah,
with the bill.
yes.
They were,
And I
pay-
should say about Medway, I know Franklin, I know Bruce just instituted in their program.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any? Are you done, Jim?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I have one other, I wanted to talk
Oh,
about
the
the,
credit manual, I'm sorry, let me get into. the
Yeah.
credit
yeah, I
manual.
want to talk
please.
about credits.
Yes, so the credit manual, and again, it's in the credit manual, everyone has the right to file. When we first started this, that we had an influx of people, and they came in and you've got to read the manual, you have to do it properly, there's 2 different stages. If you have your regular roof leaders that come off and they go into some sort of a infiltration basin that goes underground and stuff like that, if you take pictures and you file this, you can get, you can only get like one credit off. You're not getting the whole bill, it ain't going away.
Right.
Everybody, it's still gonna be there.
Right.
And I'm not gonna lie that, when we wrote this, I mean, we wrote it that, as much as we'd like to give people credits, we don't wanna give everybody. It's,
No, you don't.
but if you
If you
make it,
qualify.
if you qualify, then you get it.
Yes,
Um,
so if you have a subdivision
Yeah.
that's been built in the last 10 or 15 years, odds are
Yep.
that you can get credits, which is worth something.
Correct.
So,
And we've done that. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, there was the largest bill holder, he filed and he got a 40% discount.
right,
And then there was another, over 55 development, they came in and proved that they had everything that's in line, and they also got their 40%. So it's on the, you can't get both, you can't get one on the houses, you get it for the infrastructure, because most of these places are privately owned. So like if Toll Brothers came in, if they filed for it, they're questioning now that they would like to do, well, they can get it on their general aspect, because if they do it per home, each person is gonna have to file
I know,
a credit for a credit union. Because
yes,
that's the only way, it's the only way that you're gonna be able to vote for it. Because you can't say like, okay, 1 through 10 on Glen Ellen Way is acceptable.
Yes.
So each person's gonna have to file it, and there's no cost for it. No,
no, there's no cost to file,
no,
no, but you probably have to hire an engineer, so there will be,
yes.
there'll be a cost.
Yeah.
But yes, any questions?
No, I thought it was very informative.
That was really,
That was
really,
good.
really good, Jim.
Good,
And
let's
I,
talk about PFAS next.
for 1 second, I wanna,
I would really like to take like a 3 municipal moment break between this and pre-PFAS.
yeah, but I wanna just add on to your credit thing. When we did the, real estate taxes 2 weeks ago, we never talked about abatements, so I wanna very quickly, this has nothing to do, but
Yeah.
let me just say it because it has to do with maybe saving money. If you feel as if your property has been overvalued for whatever reason, you're on, what's that terrible website that everybody's on, Zillow,
Yeah,
but you see.
Redfin, Zillow.
Really, yeah, and you see, why am I paying more for my neighbor? We have the exact same house. You can apply for an abatement, from the treasurer here. A couple of things that you need to do. First of all, you have to pay the tax that is owing. You can't say, well, it's too much, I'm not gonna pay it. No, you have to pay the tax that is owing, and you can only file the abatement on the February bill. That's important. We get 4 bills. You can only file an abatement on the first actual bill, which is due February 1st. So it doesn't cost any money. You can go online. It's this regular 1-page, double-sided, very simple form that you can print out for Massachusetts. And in the bottom where it says, why do you want it? Overvaluation. I feel it's worth this, and with your check, you have to come in by February 1st and you file it. And within 90 days, you will get a denial. You will probably get a denial, but you will feel better having done it. Once you get the denial, you can then, for $100, you have 90 days from the denial date to file with the tax appellate board in Boston. It costs $100. It's another very simple form, and you can file that. You send your check in, you mail it in, same thing, overvaluation. And you may hear within a year of whether or not you will have a hearing. But interestingly enough, and this is not just Millis, almost every town and city, that is kind of when the assessor will set up a meeting with you, and you can come down and have a meeting and talk about why you think you're overvalued. So that's my municipal moment on real estate tax.
Let me give you our
abatements.
update of how when you file your, it's almost the same procedure. They're all the same. So you pay your October bill. When you get the bill in October, you pay it full, and then you have 30 days to file for exactly like how you just said, and then what Jen Scannell, the treasurer collector, and I will review it. She's very knowledgeable on this stuff, and she's very good at numbers, and she can figure it out. And then we'll look at it, and then we'll have a hearing, and then if we don't agree, if you don't agree with our decision, you now can go to the enterprise committee, which we've had that. And
Oh,
then you ultimately, everybody can always come to the select board,
Right.
that's the final stop.
It goes down, right?
Yeah, I mean, the town administrator is built in there too, when I say that.
Right.
He's knowledgeable of any abatement that we first, and if we make a decision on it, we definitely run it by him to make sure that it would be acceptable by the board. We try not that we don't want to involve you, but if it's something as easy as, oh, you messed up on, this measurement. So right away, we try to take care of that right away. And there's been instances that's happened.
right.
Yeah, I mean, the administrative end, we don't wanna bog you down with that. It's more if there's a
And we appreciate
policy
that.
issue.
We do,
Or
yeah.
if there's some disagreement of the facts, that's when it may get to your level.
Perfect.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you have to go through that big book.
Oh, thank goodness.
You kept opening it.
I'm gonna quiz Joyce on it later.
I've been taking notes.
Can I watch?
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda, we're a little late, sorry.
It's a moment, not a minute.
A request to place a clothing donation bin in the library parking lot. Come on up.
Right.
This is how we make two people sit through the municipal moment.
I know.
Thank you, Jim. My name is Megan Gavigan. I live at 21 Crestview Drive, and I am the treasurer of the Friends of the Mills Public Library. Thank you to the select board for hearing our request. So, we mentioned the book sale earlier, in our meeting for the Friends of the Mills Public Library. That's really our main fundraiser, along with membership and some other fundraising events that we hold throughout the year, like a novel occasion that just happened back in January. But as many nonprofits, we're trying to find new ways to bring in some funds to our organization. And this is a new opportunity that we have for gathering clothing donations in a non-permanent shed in the library parking lot. And the Friends of the Mills Public Library would be responsible for helping to maintain the shed and moving the donations out of the chute of the shed to make sure that it is doesn't become a dumping ground for things, or there's not things falling out of the shed. The company that we're going to be partnering with is St. Pauli Textile Incorporated. We have a proposal for that from them where they would place an 8-foot by 16-foot prefabricated wood frame shed. And the company would be responsible to come on a monthly basis to take the donations from the shed, and then the Friends of the Mills Public Library would get some percent of the clothing donations that are provided in the shed. So we estimate that this would average between $50 and $200 per month in fundraising for the Friends of the Mills Public Library. And that's great for us because that's about what a program is when we're looking at the youth programming, adult programming that happens at the library, that the Friends are responsible for funding. That would be about a program for us. So that would be a pretty substantial bit of money for us. I did mention that the Friends volunteers would be really integral to maintaining making sure that the shed is clean. We have access to the shed at all times. Should there be an opportunity where we would want to use the donations to benefit another nonprofit in the town? So I know some of the other town groups collect clothing or shoes, like I know the track program collected sneakers at one point. We do have the ability, if we wanted to take some of the donations that are collected in the shed and donate them ourselves to another organization within the town. So as part of the memo that we provided to the select board, we also there's a picture of where the shed would be. So for those of you who are familiar with the library parking lot, it would be located in the corner right near where, the handicap parking and,
Is it the red dot, is it the
Yeah.
red square?
correct.
What is that green one?
Google Maps.
Yeah, I think that's just the location
Oh, that.
pin.
In the middle, it will not be in the dead center of the park.
That's where I thought it was going. And I had an issue, but I'm over my issue now.
It's here.
So the shed,
Uh-huh,
they provide the shed.
correct.
What's in the shed? A big metal can or what is in the shed?
So they have a chute for, there's on the, door
Do we
of the
see
shed,
that?
there's a
There's
little
a picture of
chute.
the shoot, go on,
Yeah,
not the interior, just the exterior.
Okay,
there's a picture here if you want to take a look at it.
oh,
So this is
okay.
the chute.
And then they open the door.
Yeah, so the inside is actually empty, there's not, bins on the
There's
inside.
nothing, it's just,
That's right.
Yeah.
So we would be, that's why the Friends are,
Okay.
taking on the responsibility to move any of the donations away from the chute so that should we get an influx of donations, which would be lovely, that, we move those to the side so that,
do you have a contract and everything with them?
they have provided us with their proposal for placing the shed, but we are looking to the select board to support our request before we actually enter into any questions.
Go.
Go.
Madam Chair, I just want to say thank you to Megan, so she probably, I was kind of badgering them because it's really important that this is Friends of the Library. This is not, so it's very important that the Friends maintain this. We can't have staff going out and picking that up. That's a no-no.
Okay,
I'm sorry, so I was sitting here, so I appreciate you keep saying that, and I'm like, that's okay, but yes. It's only the Friends. You can't say, oh, hey, that thing's full, you have to go out and get it. That's
Okay.
not, you can't do that.
And
So,
since it's
But
on, yeah,
they will maintain.
since it's on town property,
do we have to sign who signs the contract? I mean, for the shed, I mean, if it's on town property, do we sign?
it would have to be.
Nothing a
the
bad
town.
idea, I'm just trying to figure out the legality
No,
of
I think you are simply authorizing the placement of the shed at the
Okay.
location in the
it. We
library.
could do that.
So the town is not agreeing, signing any contracts.
Okay.
With this entity.
So we're gonna authorize the placement theoretically, and then they sign the contract and maintain it.
They're all allowed
The
to
Friends
be there.
will, yes, will work with this organization.
Okay,
So
Right, because it's on town property, you have to.
That's the
authorize
reason.
that
All right,
you're
Aaron,
That's the if it wasn't located on town property, they wouldn't have to.
all right,
come
Aaron,
here.
go.
Okay, so just for clarification, this is clothing that could be reused, not clothing that should be recycled.
Correct.
Okay. And how long of a time frame do you anticipate?
Oh, you're cutting out.
You're cutting out.
Second.
Hello?
Yep,
Hi.
better.
Okay, how long of a time frame do you anticipate that this would be there for, like definitely at this point? Or is there like, do you think a year, 6 months? Do you have a?
I would say we're certainly more than a year. I would say probably 2 to 5 years to see what the return would be. I wouldn't want to
The one for the contract.
have it there for less than that to
Right.
really know
Right.
what the return might be. That what's been estimated, the $50 to $200 is just the estimate that we've gotten from the company. And we believe their estimate, but we also want to know that it's worth our while as the group. But should we choose not to continue with the organization, they're responsible for coming in,
Taking the
taking the
shed?
shed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I would like to see go ahead, Aaron.
No, go
You got
ahead.
more. I would like to see, a term on it that is renewable, because if it's not working out for anybody, I don't want it stuck there for 5 years.
Okay.
But I'm certainly willing to give it 2 years to prove its success, because it's gonna take a while for people to realize it's there, and then we can reevaluate. But
Mhm, mhm.
And do you have a plan, I've seen the Salvation Army ones with like
I know.
aisles outside of it. If you are maintaining it and like moving stuff away from the chute, what if the thing fills up, then what are you gonna do?
So we're able to contact they're on a regular schedule to come and take the items from the shed. But we also have the ability to call them, like,
Okay.
let's say everyone does their spring cleaning in 1 week and we get quite a lot of donations. We have the ability to reach out to the organization and come on off cycle
Yeah.
to take the items that are in the
Yeah,
shed.
I
They
do
would
like,
only
yeah,
take the things in the, sorry, just one moment. They would only take the things in the shed, so that's why it's important for the Friends to have
Yeah.
a schedule to maintain it.
I like this better than the small metal boxes that consistently always have piles in front of
I
it. It looks
know.
like with those
Yes.
boxes, with those doors, a friend, not a staff, could go out there and throw bags into the shed pretty quickly, you know, which is better than those metal boxes that
Right,
drive me crazy when they're overflowing and there's piles everywhere.
but, and you gotta plow around it, right, so people can get access.
Yeah.
It's, have fun with that.
Brush, right? Like, is there brush in their corner?
Right now, there is just brush, yeah,
So
there's not,
will they clear that out for the shed to go in it, or?
yeah, there,
They'll do it, they'll
Yeah,
do thing,
they-
okay.
whatever needs to happen to.
To get the
build
shed
shed.
there,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Joyce, come up, take the mic, and Jim, you have a question?
I just have a question as far as who's gonna monitor the clothing that goes
Joyce?
in there. Who's gonna monitor the clothing that goes in there? How do you know if it's usable or not usable?
Well, that's their
that's the
problem.
responsibility of the
Yeah.
company that's collecting the donation, not the Friends. Yeah.
And seeing what my kids buy at Savers, a lot of stuff.
I
is
know, it's usable. I know.
usable.
It's true.
Pretty little part.
Come on up, Jim.
Jim Duffy, 343 Exchange. As someone who's dealt with contracts, I'd recommend, there's a maintenance clause in there that should the building need any maintenance, that there's a certain time window by which they will respond and
Yeah.
rectify, and removal of the building, should the contract be terminated within a certain point, or we get to own it or auction it, or we get to dispose of it as we see fit, for example.
Yeah,
It's a nice shed.
Thank you.
yeah, do you have plans for putting your lawn furniture in it?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, if it goes south, we board over the hole and put our lawn furniture in it.
Any other questions from anybody? Are we
I think we're good.
Motion away.
good?
Okay.
Okay.
But seriously, you should have somebody look at that
Yeah,
contract.
have somebody
I don't
check
know
the
if you have an attorney or somebody, but somebody should look at the contract.
And I seriously would like to see a term certain on reevaluation. It can be renewed at that point, but just so it's not a,
In perpetuity.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
So
because.
am I putting that in the motion? Am I putting like 2 years in the motion? Am I?
How about
I
just,
do 1 year.
well, I don't know what
Two.
that, I would do two, just so we could find out if it's successful. It's gonna take 6 months for people to know it's there,
Right,
you know?
Okay,
Yeah, so the approval could be, for the parking could be a 2-year term, for consideration or renewal at the end of the,
consideration.
for, as far as the parking.
is that okay with you?
And that, after the 2 years, we would come back to the select board to ask for
Yeah,
renewal.
Yeah.
and it could be as
Okay.
simple,
Yeah.
it could be as simple as sending a letter in if everything's
Okay.
going great, or
Yeah.
you can come back in.
Okay.
And it gives you an out with the company
It
too, to
does.
say, the select board's not gonna renew
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, gives you a little lever with them.
I move that the board approve the request
Cut out
by
again.
the Friends of the Library to place an 8 by 16 foot clothing donation shed adjacent to the library parking lot as shown on the attached photo for a period of 2 years with consideration for renewal.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Unanimous.
you now own a shed.
Thank you very much.
You're
You are now the proud owner.
Yeah.
I'll start collecting now.
I've got a bunch of stuff.
We get first right of
All right, give us a little
refusal
time
Yeah.
to get
on
this in
anything
place.
that's,
Okay.
Anything
you know,
nice?
good.
Yeah.
Okay, next, request to install fence at fields. Come on up.
Just town property night, I think.
It really is.
Do you want me to?
First identify.
My name is Derek Lee, I'm the athletic director at Millis High School. And I am here to discuss a fence at the town field softball, as well as I recently added, some windscreens to go on the backstop and, one of the dugouts. And I sent over a document that I think detailed all of the things and questions, as I had a conversation with Alan a few weeks ago.
Yep.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, so we had a conversation because I happened to drive up here and I looked out in the field and there's somebody banging holes in the field, putting a fence up. So I happened to have a meeting with Jim McKay at the time, and we both were scratching our heads, wondering who gave permission to put a fence up on town property. And, he's been great. Derek, you've been great. Anywho, so now he's coming in arrears to ask permission
Beg for forgiveness.
to put a fence, beg for forgiveness. It's, listen, my whole life has been begging for forgiveness. I hope you,
We're from the past.
I hope you have better luck than I have. So the story is, you don't want the, it seems to me after our conversation, it didn't look like you wanted the fence as much as you wanted the advertising on the fence. But you
No,
want it, I know.
No, that's just something we discussed. No, I wanted the fence and,
So the
for many
fence-
reasons.
So the fence provides, is it the home run?
No, it's, in my estimation, there's 3 years as AD,
Nobody's gonna hit it over
And
the,
yeah, well, no, well, yeah, it's a benefit to, I think, the home team, but most of the other, towns, they have a fence. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say the facilities that I have are to use in here in town are not up to what other towns and stuff, so I'm trying to make it as aesthetically pleasing in a lot of cases for our student athletes to have a better experience. I think that's really it. Obviously the fence helps, looks good. Yeah, we could put a few banners on here, not like the baseball fields like we discussed. But more just a branding opportunity for male softball and youth softball, since they're gonna be using it, since they chipped in on the fence as well. And I think that's the other reason for those windscreens I mentioned, to give it that, so people know it's Millis, and have that little feeling. I think the kids have already shown great appreciation for it already. I've heard from many of them, coaches, and even today, Norton fans couldn't believe when they walked in that there was a scoreboard, first of all, and then also a fence. So, and then they asked when the turf field was coming, and I said no comment.
well,
So,
if you start putting that in, I won't drag you in here to explain it. You can just go ahead and do it.
well,
How's that?
maybe I would. So
I'm
that's
not so
that's
sure
kind
on
of.
that.
A turf field?
Yeah.
So that's, in the end, that's a big
Okay.
reason for it.
Okay, so
Questions.
there's a lot of questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so talk to me like I'm 8.
Yeah, sure.
What's a windscreen
So a windscreen, it's more of just a banner
banner
that would go on the backstop, would have an M on it.
on the backstop?
I'm
Okay.
sorry, so it's not a typical banner that you can't see through. It's more that you can kind of see through it.
Okay.
It's for branding purposes, but it is also to help.
Oh,
It's also to help deter.
He's dressing it up mostly,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, I'm not, yeah, dressing it up, but it's also to deter, fans, particularly maybe parents, from sitting behind the dugout.
you don't want people there.
We have people there to run we have, Game Changer, it's a video live stream that we have there. We try to not have anyone behind there, a lot of times the umpires don't like it, and then when they start becoming vocal, it even makes it even more difficult. So I'm doing the same thing at the high school for the baseball field. And a lot of times that's one deterrent for me, so I don't get any complaints and stuff like that.
So, up right now?
Yes,
No, the fence is up.
yeah.
The fence
That's why I'm
is
begging
up.
for
But there are no,
forgiveness on
there's
that.
nothing
The
on it.
windscreens
So
are-
windscreens, I am here for asking about.
So these are new fences that weren't there before?
These are,
Right
yeah.
Right out
I
there.
didn't notice it. It's right out
I
there.
don't know,
Okay.
I don't know how you didn't notice it, but,
All right.
but yeah. So
Usually
the
right
fences,
at night.
the fences
Oh,
will be up,
great.
Look
Okay.
tomorrow.
but
So
these-
anyway, for
the
anybody,
streets would be separate.
for anybody who doesn't know, there's the varsity,
On the
Right.
left.
the varsity
Here,
here closest to town hall, and then the JV. Now they play opposite fields away and the JV's down over there. The fence goes in between them. They just put it up about a week ago.
So how
yes.
do you get between is there an opening to go?
Oh, yeah,
between
yeah,
the
yeah.
two of them?
Oh,
Oh,
it's not enclosed.
doesn't-
It doesn't go all the way
it doesn't
to
go
the
around.
existing fence that surrounds the whole
It
property.
just has a beginning and an end.
It's, yeah.
it's just like a little strip
Yeah.
near the
yeah, that
scoreboard.
would- Yes,
Yeah.
yes, in front of the scoreboard.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes.
I didn't notice that.
Let's talk about, taking it down and up. Tell
Yeah,
us
sure.
about the caps, all that.
Yeah, so, the fence and stuff is obviously, it's in sockets that are into the ground that have been, drilled in, as you
Right.
said. These would come out, so the
And then
operation,
there are caps.
there are caps to go over them, if we were to keep them on the field after we are done with the season.
Well, wouldn't you keep it on the, you
Well,
wouldn't dig
what-
them up?
Well, they would they pull up pretty easily.
Do
I
they?
think what we
Not
discussed,
The hole, but the post comes
Yeah,
out,
post.
right, yeah.
I think what we discussed is, and would be a safety concern in the case, like, if it's not flush and underneath the ground, I would have a concern with it
Yes,
in the
because,
end would be, when we put it up in June, mid-June, would be to take those out and fill them in and get it ready for the fall for soccer, flag football.
right,
I don't know if I wanna take that risk once we see where it's at. Again.
do you get it?
Take too much,
So there's recessed down
Yeah.
and then you put the post in for the
Yeah.
fence. Well, the fields are used for soccer and football off
Right.
softball season.
in the fall, yes.
So that fence has to be removed.
Yeah, so we're not gonna keep.
You following me?
Is it a chain link fence?
No, no,
It's cloth.
Oh,
It's a
it's
cloth
cloth.
material that when we take it up, we take it right out of the post, we would just roll it up
Oh,
like a carpet.
but there'll be
And we store-
holes in the ground for your little cleat to catch if you're a soccer player.
oh.
Yes, so
That's a
that's,
problem.
Football, but don't they have caps?
they do, yes,
They
they do
do.
have caps. I've spoken to other,
That's what the cap.
I've spoken to other, towns and districts that use it, some ADs where the caps do the trick and everything. I don't know.
We don't know
until we get
yet.
to mid-June, so when I can't comment on what it is, but we have that option to cap it or to not and take it up and get it ready for, the fall.
And your crew
Well, yes, the operations at school.
are gonna, this is
Yeah,
all
they're-
under
they-
your
yeah,
purview.
Install them, they'll cut the grass around it, right? The other concern was with as far as like the grass, cutting around it, how close we can get the mower, and then trimming, and worrying about the cloth. And the cloth is loose enough where we can pull it up, trim underneath, and move our, and continue to do that and make it look. I just don't want the grass continually growing on it, so.
So, so the,
No, good.
just so I understand, the purpose of the fence was more an aesthetic thing and
It's
division
aesthetic,
of the
it's-
two
yeah.
fields.
As long as
Another
it's not a
thing
safety
to,
issue.
in common with softball, baseball, most of them have a fence. In a lot of cases, for certain sports, as you work your way up, we have individuals that are on a team that hope to play in college. So there's another part to that, where colleges would always have a fence and stuff.
Oh,
The other part was, the continual rolling of the ball for inside the park home runs that we just roll and roll. So in this way, if it hits the fence, obviously it's still in play. If it goes under the fence, it's a ground rule double, it's over, done with. The person goes to second and we continue to play. When you can speed up the games in some cases as well. Obviously, if you hit it over the fence, then you get to
How-
celebrate and
how
have a home run.
tall?
Not tall,
4 feet, oh.
you're a little bit
Yeah.
taller.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's green, it is green with yellow around the top and the
Yeah.
foul poles are yellow. I think that's about it.
Yeah, miss it.
You
And
can't miss it, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know how you missed it, but I'm sure you'll look tomorrow.
I will,
Yes.
absolutely.
just, the only thing, and you have a place to store this thing when you take it out?
We already, we were storing it it was in the box in one of our garages over at the high school. We'll roll it up and we'll store it in there.
And I know you like to ask forgiveness, but let's not do this again.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely, sure.
And then, you did talk about maybe getting a few sponsors and putting something.
Yeah, and then, we did mention that as far as in-town sponsors and having the opportunity, I mean, again, I mentioned.
Yep.
Nothing like the baseball, but maybe some that can benefit both the town and obviously the
Okay.
athletic department. I haven't reached out to any of that yet, but that's obviously
Anybody,
somewhere.
that's good, Derek, great job.
Okay.
Anybody in the crowd? Jim, you got any questions?
No,
Nothing?
believe me, any complaints come, they're going right to John Engel.
Well,
No,
usually.
you're
That's
fine.
what he seems to be too, so.
The other piece,
Go.
if, for those of you who read through the entire page,
Oh, my
did
goodness.
you?
I'm
Yes,
gonna try
The very last
Oh,
piece
yes,
is Mackenzie Smith, actually a former neighbor of mine, but during her senior project, she graduated in the class of 2020, is the one who raised the funds to do this softball scoreboard.
Correct.
Her father was a former select
Yeah.
board member who unfortunately passed away, way too young.
Oh, this is Chris's?
And
Yeah.
this is Chris, yeah, Chris Smith,
Got it,
so
yep.
I know you're trying to put a plaque.
So,
this
yeah,
select
we were
board.
gonna try and do it last year, but Mackenzie was still at school, so we
Right.
held off on that to do it last season, so we would like to dedicate, I'm going to,
Yeah.
like to dedicate it. And just getting a plaque, would be no bigger than 12 by 12, that would dedicate it to the Smith family and
Yeah.
particularly Chris. I haven't gone past that part as far as, it won't take me long to get the plaque, who I use, probably a week. And that's just a matter of where we put it, how we gonna put it up on the post, but
Yeah, so
I'll
I don't know
have
if that's.
yeah,
a
the
real
operations group
approval
kind of
for
figure that out.
but Yeah, he added that on since he was here. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something you
I
just kind of want to get
might
that
as well,
word, okay.
yeah, so I just added that on the
Yeah,
end.
I
because that-
thought that was already incorporated into it, and when we did the original
Yeah.
plan.
I think it was originally, I
Yeah.
think last year when we did it, I think we had talked about, it, we just didn't know how we were going to
Okay.
present it.
Okay,
All right,
Good
so is
Good
my
job.
motion for a fence and windscreens, or is my motion for a fence? Do we need to include windscreens or do we not?
what does she have?
She has
Fence.
fence.
I would say end windscreens.
Yeah, I would
You wanna say
Yeah.
plaque too, or no?
No, I think that was already part of the plan.
Yeah.
Already approved that.
Yeah,
I move that the board approve the request by the Mills Public Schools Athletic Director to install a fence and windscreens as described at the town softball field.
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Okay, that was fun.
I learned a lot.
Did you? You learn what a windscreen was? You learned that you need to get your eyes checked
I
and,
did.
all kinds of things. Okay. Jim McKay, are you back up? No,
No,
we're
he's
appointing,
not.
Oh, we're doing appointments.
Appointments.
One
second.
Stay up there,
Sit
so
down.
take 2 minutes.
appointing. Karen, what do you got?
We have, the permanent building committee is recommending that the select board appoint Albert Vautour or Al Vautour to the FTC on the permanent building committee, and also to the school building committee. So permanent building committee is a 3-year appointment. He would be filling in for the member who's away. And school building committee is an appointment to completion of the project.
Okay. Erin,
I move that the board appoint Al Votor as a member of the permanent building committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2027, and as a member of the school building committee through the completion of the middle high school building project.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Number 2,
Number
Karen?
2 is the Millis Cultural Council is looking to appoint Nina Jean-Jacques, all French names tonight,
Ooh, she
is
must be
joining the Millis
cultured.
Cultural Council. And again, I believe I put her
Expiring term.
Yeah, expiring term, but yes, they are strongly recommending that you appoint her.
Awesome.
Okay, I move that the board appoint Nina Jean-Jacques. Jacques.
I think it's Jean-Jacques.
It's the cultural council.
I know, I'm sorry.
Really
To the
tough for
Millis Cultural Council with a term expiring June 30th, 2028.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
And since we're at this moment, just a quick mention that we are looking for someone for Economic Development Committee, for the
Oh, yeah.
Enterprise Funds Advisory Committee, for the Energy Committee. And I think we filled the rec position, so just those 3.
That's enough.
Anyone who's interested.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
1 second.
All right, go ahead.
Continue
We'll
on
take-
while I'm gone. Don't worry. I've read the package.
Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Next
Sorry.
one, working with Mr. Weiss, Bob was acting as the economic, was he?
Yes,
Yes.
So I think,
Development.
no, say it out what he was, because I think you need.
Economic Development Director?
He was the economic development developer working on this. He received a grant that I helped him with. We received $450,000. I think that's a big thing from, if you remember,
It
from
is.
Wednesday night. There was a lot of discussion about, his position as the economic.
Mr. Weiss brings in a lot of grants.
He does.
He does bring in a lot of grants.
And so if you noticed last year, we worked with him. We have to get this money spent by next year, by the 2026. Last year we used almost half of it. We replaced the sidewalks on Plain Street and we replaced the technical pads on Route 109 that the plow ripped up almost 99% of them. but the contract is coming back to replace them. I'm just trying to stall some.
It's all right, we'll fill them in.
You're fine.
As part of the next phase of this, we need engineering services for this. We're looking at engineering the, Exchange Street right outside the library at the old fire station, doing something with that. That would be our top priority this year. And then there's two other intersections, excuse me, that the police chief, one was, Middlesex, and the other one is at Orchard Street, the Tolles Corner section there, that little line where it goes in from Middlesex to Orchard, that whole funky little
To
area.
exchange.
Yeah, to
Yep.
exchange. So we've got to come up with the engineering costs of this. It wasn't you can't use any of the funds from the grant to pay the engineering costs. So what I would ask is that you allow us to use under the design and construction, $30,400. That's part of what you've appropriated in the past several years. Right now, there's $550-something still in that account. And that, we've been using it, as you can see, it says design and construction. So, we would use the funds to design those three intersections at that amount. And I agree with through Beta Group, different engineering firm. And even if we use all the funds at one project, we'll still have those designs that in future years we'll be able to still put this work together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions?
No, I was on the group that did the complete streets and
Then you have no questions.
again, this has been a home run for me on stuff.
I have no questions.
Erin, for the motion, I would include on page 4, it lists exactly the 3 locations, very simply. I would include that in the motion for future, so for the minutes we'll have it.
Oh, thank you.
It's just, okay, thank you. I just noticed it.
Okay.
Beta Group, I'm sorry.
I move that the board approve and authorize the town administrator to sign a contract for design and construction of complete streets improvements at the
That, yeah.
3 locations listed on the scope of work to Beta Group Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $30,400. The locations are Village Street and Himmelfarb Street, Middlesex Street at Ridge Street, and Main Street, Route 109 and Exchange Street.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
aye.
Unanimous.
On Mr. Weiss's behalf, thank you.
Oh,
All right.
Thank you. Okay, what do we got next?
So, Madam Chair.
Yep.
As a follow-up to your last, regular meeting where you discussed, proposed change of the town clerk's position from elected to appointed. I have, contacted town council in regards to this, and enclosed in your packet is the ballot question language to change that position of town clerk from elected to appointed. The language has been reviewed and approved by town council as to form. In order to place this on the election ballot, the board would need to take a formal vote to add this question to the election, annual election ballot for the election scheduled for May 12th, 2025. And the language, as it reads in your packet, ballot question number 1, shall the town of Millis vote to amend its home rule charter to have its elected town clerk become an appointed town clerk of the town? And I think as was spoken about a little earlier, the ballot question is not necessarily absolutely legally necessary, but it really ensures that this is something when it's sent up to the as a request for a special act, that the town is supportive of that move.
Okay, I like it.
And just as a refresher, it was either 21 or 22 that this came up as, this was proposed at town meeting, along with several other recommendations from the Charter Review Committee.
All in one article.
All in one article.
Yes.
And the whole article was tabled with no action, and we've started bringing back pieces. One of those pieces done last year was to allow our town administrator to
Sign
sign
the,
document, but we've
warrant.
seen no action on it.
It has been filed. It's been filed.
All right, I'm still signing.
So
I know.
we're hoping
get
it'll
there.
get approved this summer.
All right, so this would be the same process. We're just bringing one at a time back. Keep the confusion to a minimum.
Okay,
Hold on one second.
Yep.
Jim, you wanna talk?
Jim Duffy, 343 Exchange Street. So, I remember that meeting, and I think Craig is right. I think it ended up getting tabled, because I remember Peter Underhill opining on social media. He had this very eloquent write-up, but he never got to present it. 'cause
Oh, yeah.
it got tabled.
Right.
My personal, opinion is, I wish it weren't so easy to change town charter without either a public information session, or call it a hearing, or call it a public debate. In my opinion, is town meeting is not a good forum for something as complicated as something like this, especially when you couple it with taking away an elected official, which I personally rail against. So that's my comments.
I'll address, if you don't mind, I can address some of that. It's not a simple process by any
No,
stretch.
by any
There was a charter review committee that was formed by the moderator, or was it by the moderator formed a charter review committee. They met for about 2 years, because I was on it and COVID hit, so it stretched to 2 years. It should have probably only been about a year, but it still ran for 2 years. It has to go to town meeting where it needs to get, does it a 2/3 or simple majority at town meeting?
Simple majority.
Simple majority at town meeting, then it has to go to the ballot where it's got to get a simple majority, then it has to go to the state legislature. So it is quite a convoluted process. And the reason to eliminate, to move this from appointed to elected, no, switch that, elected to appointed, is control. I mean, and it's controls that are needed. It's not the select board exercising control. When I first started in the finance committee, we had an elected town accountant who didn't know anything about accounting, great guy. But we had pages and pages and pages of audit findings. And I mean, the audit findings, you should never have one, let alone 4 or 5 pages of audit findings. So that was moved from elected to appointed. Same situation here. There's situations where town meeting votes have to be recorded within a certain number of days with the state. Otherwise, town meeting never happened and you have to do it again. If our elected town clerk didn't file in time, there's no ramifications. He or she is on the job until the next election cycle. There is open meeting documentation that's provided, Freedom of Information Act information. That's a town clerk job. Our previous elected town clerk didn't want to do it and refused to do it, so it fell to another appointed staff. So we're trying to get this so that we can get a town clerk that is responsible and answers to the elected boards that exist, the select board, basically. We would need to move. If we're expecting these things to happen with these controls, we have no levers to pull if these controls aren't followed. And we've been lucky. Lisa Harden got things in on time, but very close to the deadlines a lot of times. This just gives us a better chance to make sure that that's no longer an issue with the direct line of control from the select board to.
Right, this is the way I look at it, okay? I've said this a million times and I'm not gonna stop saying it. We do more in this town with less than any town around. Everybody wears a million hats. Everybody's a team player or nothing works. If we had a town that was big enough to have, a town clerk and 7 assistants running around like minions doing his or her bidding, then that's good. We don't have that. We have a town clerk, we have an assistant and a part-timer. And so if they don't all fall in and help each other, then things are not getting done. We were very close to missing deadlines. And it was calling and no answering, and it's very difficult. We are not a town that can afford to have a town clerk sit in the back and direct the 1.5 people that we have. The second piece is a lot of people say, well, they'll just, they'll do our bidding. They'll do our bidding. Like, I want that. I want you to do my bidding. I don't want anybody else to do my bidding. 95% of the town clerk's job is dictated by state statute, 95%. It's not a lot of, we get 5% if we're so interested. So I'm not concerned that this town clerk is gonna be my puppet in the town clerk's office. I'm not interested in that. We're really interested in getting the job done. And that's why we feel this is the best, not to mention the study that was done, which is online, which if you haven't read it,
I read it. It was, well, it was one a number of years
it
ago.
was
It made
4 years ago.
some reference to office was running well,
Yeah,
maybe some
despite-
clutter issues somewhere.
read it again,
Yeah, there's.
read it again.
Yeah,
The-
this was not a decision we entered into lightly with
No.
this.
Well, so my-
yeah.
But I get it, I get their
My comment is
reservations.
Regardless of appointed or not, you can miss deadlines. So you have to have process and procedures and tertiary and secondary responsibility roles to be flagging those, because the town clerk could get hit by a bus and be in the hospital in a coma the day she's supposed to file the
Well,
town meeting,
that's,
right?
that's a little different. You have
This-
180 or 90, there's a
That's
number of days you can do it within. And if, not saying, if they miss that 180 days, nobody else in that office could have done it because it's by statute required by the town clerk. If on day, let's call it in 180 day, and let's say on day 170, she gets hit by a bus, we could have appointed an acting town clerk immediately and had to take care of. But there is no ramifications for missing a deadline, none. On the first 6 months of your 3-year term, if you miss every deadline and don't file a marriage certificate, death certificate, anything that needs to be filed by the town, there is no way to remove that town clerk for 3 years.
No ramifications.
No ramifications at all. You can
There's no-
say that there should be controls,
But there
but
aren't any.
there aren't any for elected officials. I mean, we are, good, bad, or otherwise, unremovable except by vote. So is she, or he or she in that office. So that's where it comes down to, with no way to correct it and nobody to supervise it except the voters once every 3 years. It's a very scary position to be in. When the town clerk was just 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when there weren't as many legal ramifications tied to it, it was an easy position for a lot of people to
Back
have.
long
Now it's
ago,
a
when
professional
when
position.
this was happening, the town clerk did a few things, they did a few licenses.
Yeah.
They ran elections, and, you just need somebody that's, willing and able to do it. And accountability, we're looking for accountability, that's all. But your point was that we should have had a hearing or something, but I mean, this is
Well, I
on
think
the
that there's
ballot.
lack of information as to why.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the agenda, if anybody wanted to come and discuss,
Yeah.
like you managed to come. This is why we're here to discuss it, we'll pick up next one
And
again.
for 2 years, we talked about the other meeting, and I don't think it was anybody except the committee at any of those, even though we were on Zoom for half of it, the pandemic. So it's the same argument. I mean, we couldn't do anything if we waited to pack this room with 500 people or a room with 400 people to listen to us opine. We're glad you're here. You give us at least somebody to discuss with. Yeah, but so the other, how many, 8,000, 9,000 people in town, thank you, but,
The 5 at home.
yeah, but I mean, it's the curse of the town, you
It's
can't
the
get this word out any other way, I don't know how else we do it, I promise you, if we held this hearing in a gym and said we're discussing it, we might have 8 people,
We'd have
so-
Jim,
We might have had 2 more, 3 more people,
come on up, thank you,
Jim
Jim,
and Joyce, there we go.
Joyce.
Joyce Boyardi, 206 Orchard. I understand the elected appointment. I'm not questioning that. How many hours is this? And I have a few questions. How many hours, how long a term? Is it a term, or once they're appointed, are they under the town as an employee?
Yes, so the town clerk, if it's changed to appointed, would be like any other department head in the town, so they would most likely be a member of the union. And it would be a hire, it would be an appointment, but it'd be like, say, hiring any other department head, like hiring the COA director, or hiring the treasurer, the finance director. It would be, and they would have you know, they'd be part of the union and they would be a full-time salaried position.
Okay, it is full-time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I just wanted to be sure, because before it was different.
it was like 12 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we have for this?
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
You ready for it?
Yes,
Okay. I move that the board approve the ballot language question,
yeah, she got language
the
twice.
ballot language question for the May
12,
12th town election as follows.
I don't, oh, town election, yeah, sorry.
yep,
And
Sorry.
shall the town of Millis vote to amend its home rule charter to have its elected town clerk become appointed town clerk of the town?
Second,
it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. And, Madam Chair, the next item, relates to the, personnel plan.
Yep.
And the annual updates, which are contained within the, warrant for the spring annual town meeting. Every year, the board, does review the personnel plan and submits changes, for consideration at town meeting. You have a memo in your packet. I've made recommendations to the board, as part of this overall budget process and to make equitable changes to the town's plan. These changes would be, if the board agrees, changes would be approved by the town meeting as part of Article 7. They're made in order to ensure that employees covered by the personnel plan are compensated and treated in a manner which is equitable to the vast majority of our employees, which are covered by union agreements and other employment agreements. The following changes I am recommending in the personnel plan. There's approximately six changes.
Yep.
The first is to adjust the steps within grades 11 to 17, so that there is a 2.5% increase between all steps, which would match the newly ratified SEIU agreement. Remove step 1 on the step scale and add a new step 10 with a 2.5% increase, as was done in the newly ratified SEIU agreement, as well as several other agreements. Increase the longevity payment amounts by $100 in each category to match all recently negotiated collective bargaining agreements. Update the bereavement leave language by adding grandchild and domestic partner, and adjust the bereavement period from 3 days to 5 days for immediate family. Again, as reflected in several of the newly signed collective bargaining agreements. Add a yearly stipend of $5,200 for the legally mandated public records officer position. I think was touched upon a little earlier here. Add a 2.5% COLA in FY 26 to the positions as outlined in the enclosed personnel plan to match most of the recently signed collective bargaining agreements. And also in your packet, there is a breakdown of, we didn't put the whole personnel plan in here because it's about 40 pages, but we did add the pages that with changes in them for your review. That reference, that show those changes that were referenced, and be happy to address any questions, as with Karen, who's helped quite a bit in putting this information together.
You want to just read the headlines or no? Are we good?
I think I went
that was the
through them.
headlines.
That was the
Fine.
headlines.
yeah.
The rest, it just shows it where it is in the
Fine.
document.
Fine, okay, good.
So,
Any questions?
yeah, they have to answer your questions.
Any
of the board.
questions?
No.
We know this stuff, so.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I move that the board approve the personnel plan language changes as listed effective 7/1/25.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
And Madam Chair, I'm gonna ask that the board, again, open the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
Okay. Aaron?
Yes. I move that the board open the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
aye,
Unanimous?
Thank you. So again, enclosed in the packet, I have a brief memo as well as an updated copy of the draft annual town meeting warrant for May 5th. In summary, the changes I've made, which I'm requesting the board act upon, it's just to, there's some added language to Article 12, just updated language regarding the tri-board committee bylaw.
Yep,
Happy to discuss that if there's any questions with that.
No,
Just a question, it says quarterly basis, do we want to keep it quarterly, or does it make sense to meet maybe 4 times a year? Because we have 2 town meetings, and is it
Good.
better to maybe meet twice on a town meeting if we need it, or is there, it's an
what does
opinion.
quarterly mean?
Once a year.
Is
Well,
quarterly
means
different than
about
4?
about every 3 months, but
Yeah.
there's merit to that suggestion to, meet 3 to 4 times per year as, so that,
I
there
like
might
that.
be times of the year where you may to meet between January and May, you may need to meet 2 to 3
Twice,
times
yeah.
even, and then maybe only once during another
Okay.
time, so certainly that's something to be considered if the
So
board
to
wants
meet 4 times a year, do you want to put that in there?
You wanna do 3 or 4?
I
or
wanna
you
do 4.
You, I know
4.
you like
Okay.
4, okay,
I want to mandate that it's 4, but
Fine.
yeah, maybe we meet and discuss and go out for drinks.
okay, let's do 4.
The next item is the elimination of the original Article 13. I have reviewed this item with town council. And, we feel that this item actually does not require a town meeting vote, that can be actually approved. This was originally
Traffic
traffic
constables.
constables. After speaking with town council,
Okay,
many other towns actually have done them as traffic supervisors and done them through a simple approval and vote by the select board.
Okay, fine.
Doesn't
Perfect.
require town
Great.
meeting action.
and Article 16,
So Article 16 is also not needed. That was actually an accidental duplication of an article, so.
okay, well, then we certainly don't need it.
We addressed that, elsewhere in the warrant, so.
Okay.
Okay, great.
just forget
I would
that
like
ever
to-
happened.
I would like to propose a change to one other item. Unless we're going to have time to revisit this one more time. I'd like to, on Article 8, what was just presented today, the capital plan.
Yep,
I'd like to consider removing the Chevy Blazer.
I second that.
Yeah, so I don't, the reason being, while everything else was running, I mean, the vans, the truck for the DPW is a medium. Was still rated about 130, 150. This thing was, there was acres between it and
I agree.
the other lowest item.
Are you okay? I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so do you want me to- yeah.
A motion, what do we do?
We need to put that in motion.
I move that we edit Article 8 to remove the building inspection Chevy Blazer inspection vehicle from the article.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
and they'll drop the total and you can do the math on that.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
So
Harold,
the other one that was removed, was mentioned in the original Article 16. Again, that was that. So we
Right.
covered that.
Yeah.
You got that?
And then the
So
motion is written.
and then, additional information for Article 13. That has to do with all the parcels of land. You see there's quite a chart in there. You got a chance to look at it.
It is.
And that, I did review that list at length with Mr. Weiss. That lists all the parcels of land, that we believe would, as far as we're aware, would not serve the town any purpose moving forward.
okay,
The vast majority of those parcels are under a quarter of an acre.
yeah,
And most of them have an assessed value of under $20,000.
Right.
Just a couple exceptions.
Yeah.
yeah, for those people that don't know, these are the pieces, how are we doing with the 2?
We're working on it.
We're working,
Last year.
yes, it moves slowly up here, Joyce, very slowly.
Spread very thin.
These are the parcels of land that are on our website that are we're offering to anybody, actually. Most, 99% of them are in the Millis Heights area of Millis, which is by where you live, Aaron, down at the, intersection, well, we used to call it Four Corners, but I don't know what you call it now. The end of,
Pleasanton Village.
Pleasant and Village, up before you get there where, his refrigeration place is there on the right. And up on the hill, and there's so many rumors about how these pieces got to be. Some say they were bottle caps, if you opened a bottle of
Yeah.
something. Some say they were bingo from the Jewish resorts. I never heard that, but what do I know? There's just a lot of teeny weeny parcels up
I
there.
heard they were giveaway parcels, but
Yeah.
no, I don't know the mechanism for it.
Me
But
neither.
if you got like, I don't know, 24 of them, you might be able like a parcel.
Put something, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're gonna be an article that we're going to just not have to go one at a time,
Yeah,
right?
we're asking the town meeting to, basically declare, authorize the select board to declare them surplus. So that
Perfect.
they can be, they may be sold by the.
And it might go quicker than the last one.
Absolutely.
That's the goal. I know, right? What is that about? Okay,
So the only other, item I want to add on that, Madam Chair, is that I am requesting that the board have a special meeting next Monday, April 7th, which I know the board has already, agreed to. Really specifically for the annual town meeting warrant and the budget, FY 26 budget. So we'll be focusing on that intensely a week from this evening.
okay,
So I
great.
really don't have any other items directly related to this tonight, and just recommend that the board vote to close the warrant.
Well, they
Are we voting
We
on
gotta
those?
vote
six
articles.
and
Oh,
seven?
yeah, we'll vote to remove the two articles.
Yes.
We did 8 separately, but
Okay.
yes.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Hold on,
25067.
I know.
You've
Hold
thrown
on.
out the number.
Oh, it's right
Yeah,
there.
I know.
I move that the board eliminate the following articles from the May 5th, 2025 town meeting warrant, Article 13 and Article 16.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I move that the board close the May 5th, 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay,
Great, thank you very much. So Madam Chair, the next item is a pretty big item. I know we've been working diligently, over the past really 4 to 5 months with all of the town's, municipal collective bargaining agreements and with those unions to, successfully negotiate agreements, which, we were able to do. So I do want to thank first and foremost, the board for you all stepping forward and being directly part of those negotiations, individually, coming to the different meetings. And also, thank the leadership of the different, the 5 unions, the Professional Firefighters of Millis, Mass Coalition of Police, the Police Association Dispatchers, the AFSCME Council 93 for the DPW, and the SEIU Local 888. I'd like to thank the leadership for a good collaborative working process here. Certainly, everyone didn't get everything they wanted, but I think it was a productive negotiation that produced contracts that are competitive and fair, and I think will put the town in a good position to retain the quality employees it has, while maintaining its budget moving forward.
that's when you know you've done a good job, by the way, when neither side is thrilled. Because if one side is thrilled, the other side is not gonna be happy. So
So just,
we didn't get everything we wanted, and they didn't get everything they wanted, so good job.
yes, so thank you to all involved,
And
Also-
in record time.
yes, I also wanted to also mention, we did negotiate the police chief's employment agreement, the successor agreement, thank you, Aaron, for working, with me on that, and the chief, and, that's also, been negotiated. We're certainly glad to, be holding on to our extremely valuable, professional, and highly competent chief, and who's doing a great job. I know there are a lot of other towns that have chiefs embattled in situations and difficult things, and we have an extraordinarily professional department led by an outstanding chief, so we're very happy to have him be continuing with us.
Yes, all of our directors actually are
I'm very happy.
Very.
lucky.
very fortunate. We must be doing something right. You have something?
I do have
Erin?
something to say. I move that the board ratify the following collective bargaining agreements and employment agreement effective July 1st, 2025.
Second,
Did she read out?
Oh, I
this
didn't.
or no?
I'm sorry, I
That's
jumped the
okay.
gun. Got it.
Professional Firefighters of Millis Local 4704, Mass Coalition of Police Local 171, Millis Police Association dispatchers, DPW, AFSCME, Council 93, SEIU Local 888, and the Police Chief's Employment Agreement.
Now I would like to second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Okay, last item on the list.
There's 3 lanes left.
Well, I know, but it's close to the last item on the list. The Lions Club. Karen, you got anything?
I do.
Oh, you do.
Defer to Erin on
I
that.
You're in the
I
Lions.
am a lion.
You're a lion.
Hear me roar.
I can hear you.
I am here to ask if we can put some signs up around town property for the Millis Beautification Day to advertise. So what I'm looking to do is just use the same ones that we used the last time, and moving forward, these would be the places that
Yep.
we could use. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, I move that the board approve the request by the Millis Lions to place yard signs advertising the Millis Beautification Day at the following locations: Park Road near the directional sign behind Town Hall, in front of Town Hall at a distance from Veterans Monuments, intersection of Plain and Village Streets, Towles Corner, Route 115 and Orchard Street intersection, intersection of Curve Street and Exchange Street across from the American Legion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, what's the next one?
Your favorite one?
Board liaison updates.
Oh my God, board liaison. I didn't even bring my huge list. But
Check and see if I got
Yeah,
anything.
you were away, you couldn't have.
I was away, but I was thinking about it.
Oh.
Doesn't count.
I went to the sewer meeting, which was uneventful. We have no more anything. You did more, I
We
think.
went to the
I did
Ways and Means.
too.
Oh, I don't know if that counts. I must have put in, we schlepped to, Amherst to the Ways and Means meeting. That counts for like 10
Okay.
of yours. What do you got?
I went to the capital planning committee meeting and you heard the results of our,
Yeah,
of our work. And then I went to the finance committee meeting last week, which, it was just the largest piece there for us was the, HR position, really. There was other discussions, but that was the biggest piece.
did you make it to the, SPC or no? It wasn't really for us.
Can't really recall if I did or not, but it was like at 3 PM, so
I'm sure
I
you
honestly,
did.
I don't think I did, but. I looked at-
Erin?
I have nothing. I'm going to cemetery committee tomorrow, though,
Oh,
my favorite.
okay.
I'm trying to recall if I listened to the SPC while I was driving home from work or something, but
That
I don't
doesn't
think I
count.
did.
Okay, what's next?
Move to go into executive
Yes.
session.
Yeah, water and sewer, there aren't any.
I move that the board enter into executive session for the following purpose and only re-enter open session for the purpose of adjourning. To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the government's bargaining or litigating position, SEIU.
Second,
We pulled the board, right?
Yes.
yeah, I
Um,
don't pull the board, you do.
I pulled the board. Erin?
Yes.
Aye,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so we're going into executive session.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,